Alright, welcome back to the next session. I'm again on Phelia. This is my first MTGO league, and in the third round I faced Tivit. That's a control deck that I haven't seen for quite some time. I think since Atraxa entered the battlefields, I haven't seen any Tivit. And also no Ertai, I think. So, well, there are good reasons to not play Tivit these days. I think Atraxa is just slightly better while also providing an additional color. But yeah, it seems my hand was kind of fine. I have the invasion, which I was trying to resolve in order to get information and also Texas spells or their spells. They have Force of Negation. Unfortunately, they missed the land drop, and I draw the Dust Ball. So I feel quite good about that. Dust Ball is actually one of the most powerful cards in these matchups. Actually, the fact that Phelia has Flash, or your commander has Flash in White Weenie, already turned it, I wouldn't say in your favor. These games are still difficult to get through, but it also depends on the type of control you play against. For example, if you face Tamiyo, it's much more easy, or Mono Blue in general, because their only way to interact is on spell base, by counter spells, I mean. While Esper or 4-color has various ways of getting rid of your permanents after they resolve. So yeah, I keep on destroying my lands or trading my lands for their lands. And now I have this small interaction of Flagstones and Dust Bowl. So I'm actually not losing a land here, while they are down to one island. Next up, I would cast the Dungeoneer, and at that point, they decide to concede the game because there's not really much to do. Even if they would keep up bringing down more and more lands, I would still have an upside, and at some point I might even be able to start casting my spells and then gain an edge very easily. So here in the second game, I have a pre-game action with the Gemstone Caverns, which is really good against counter magic to resolve my failure earlier. And the rest looks fine. Reprieve, Blade Splicer. If Blade Splicer resolves, I can create 7 power on turn 3. Parallax Wave is not the best card against this particular archetype, but we take it. Again, there is Attack Edge. Rishadan Port, also a really good card against control. So the deck is lining up in my favor. If you are new to MTGO, check out our latest guide on how to get started. And don't forget to use the code bitzelberg if you have any Mana Traders subscription going on. It will save you 10% off of your first 2 months. So my opponent on the Surveil land surprisingly surveils a counterspell, which is a signal to me that he has, or they have, quite a good hand. And my Blade Slicer is countered, which is okay. A bit unfortunate that I don't have any target for Phelia to flicker. So she will stay on 2/2. But I think I still have some time until Tivit hits the battlefield. I have the dog on board. There's a portable hole. That's a good one. Very efficient. Only have to pay 1 mana for that. And he can keep up another counterspell or something in that direction. So next up, War Room. Another great card against control. I can just draw cards end of turn if I have the time. But yeah, the plan right now is just to cast Phelia end of turn again. They will search for other cards, or maybe the Bowmaster. Getting rid of the Bowmaster is actually, I don't know, maybe not the best choice. I think this card is quite fine against me. But well. And it seems that I decide to draw a card end of turn instead of playing Phelia, which is okay, because I have no proper setup or follow-up so that I could get some additional value out of Phelia and her Flicker ability. So I draw the stuff. I try to resolve that. Unfortunately, they have a Force, which is quite a good one in this situation. I think I could have run away with the stuff on board. But it also depends on whether or not Phelia would resolve. So here I decide to reprieve my stuff instead of the Force. So I get to draw a card and I get back my stuff, and next turn they have to deal with it again. And now as a follow-up from the draw, I can also play Skullclamp, another good card against control. If I manage to resolve some creatures, of course. Yeah, now it seems they missed a land drop again, which is good for me. They missed a couple of land drops, actually. I wonder if they play a lot or enough. But sometimes it's also MTGO. Yeah, here's the staff again. Not quite sure if it resolves this time. I think it does not. No, it does not. But there's another counter spell, Change the Equation, a card that some players experimented with. I personally think it's not the best. But well, I think in a 3-color deck you have enough selection to not play such spells, but fair enough. So I pass the turn, and I thought about porting one of their lands, and actually I didn't decide to do that because, well, with 4 mana there's not that much to come. But now they have Dark Ritual, which will end up in a Tivit cast. And yeah, then he's already in main phase, so no need to tap any lands. But I have a nice synergy in hand. I have the Parallax Wave together with the Containment Priest. So I can try to cast Phelia now, see if it resolves. And maybe cast the Parallax Wave next turn. And then hope that he will put Tivit under the Parallax Wave. Otherwise it would cost 8 mana for the next cast. And then maybe gain some time and try to stall the game. So here my Phelia resolves. Mana Tithe is a bit too late, unfortunately, but it is how it is. So I go for the P wave. There is an additional ward to pay. I'm very sure they don't play Daze, and Force and any other free spell would require you to pitch another spell, so I choose to exile Tivit, and they decide to put it under the P wave. So now I have no mana to go for Containment Priest, otherwise I would have flickered P wave right away. But this way I can just go and flicker their tokens, the clue tokens, just to make sure they don't really draw anything that could help them out of this situation. And then at some point I can still think about whether or not flickering the P wave and bringing down the Containment Priest, but I have to make sure that they don't have any mana left. Maybe I have some hand info. In combination with the Mana Tithe, maybe I can find a situation in which I could counter a potential counter towards Containment Priest or some interaction spell, just to be really sure that Tivit won't see the battlefield again. So yeah, getting rid of the command tower, reducing their options even further. I can draw a card end of turn again. Now I still, I can flicker the treasure token here, because again it denies more mana, limits the options. They've missed like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 land drops already. Quite a lot. And yeah, I can maybe play the Witch Enchanter, the land here. And then I can decide, for example, either drawing a card. I can go Rishadan Port end of turn. I can still draw a card, by the way, because I just can pay the life. Life doesn't matter here. There's a Brainstorm. Could end up good. I'm not putting too much pressure to the board, but still I have the control. They found a land. That's definitely good. And here is like a decision whether or not I would use the port end of turn. But I'm also a bit afraid, like you always have to consider if they have a 2-mana interaction for the P-Wave, which is unlikely, then you don't have any interaction left to defend it. And Tivit would just come back, get another ETB. That would be pretty bad. I see a Palace Jailer and Oust. Oust is more or less useless. So I just cast a Jailer to get the Monarch, draw additional cards. And now I'm in a fine spot. The P-Wave has 2 counters left. I have 1 mana left for Mana Tithe plus Rishadan Port mana. And now I can also flicker the Jailer to grow Phelia. Yeah, and it's a tricky situation they have to get out of. There is the Anchor on field, which with the Rishadan Port is kind of useless, because I can just tap it prior to combat. They cast Supreme Verdict. To be honest, I did a mistake here, because I should have tapped the Anchorage, it's called, I guess. The Restless Whatsoever. I should have tapped it in upkeep to prevent that from happening. But yeah, I still have the Monarch. I still have lots of card advantage available. And now I just cast Phelia main phase. Could have also drawn a card with War Room. And then now we just pass the turn and wait what our opponent has to bring up. Maybe it can distract from the fact that I'm trying to cheat in the Containment Priest. They decide to go for a Snapcaster Mage. The only target is Brainstorm, so that's nothing to be worried about at that point. Which means if they don't find a land, I can tap the remaining mana end of turn, and then they might be left with a Force, but I can Mana Tithe the Force, just to make sure that I get through the Containment Priest. And they find a land. So yeah, the Parallax Wave has 1 counter left. I could think about removing the counter to eat the Snapcaster Mage too, but I'm really scared of any kind of Force, So I decide to tap the land, and then in my upkeep, tap another land, removing the counter, leaving Snapcaster Mage on board. I can just use the On Thin Ice, for example. And then I'm kind of sure or safe against almost any interaction, unless he has a Mental Misstep. But I can, at the same time, I can check that with On Thin Ice. And if Snapcaster Mage sticks on board, it doesn't really matter. It's not too bad. So in my upkeep, I tap his land, their land. Automatically. Yes, and there's the On Thin Ice for the Snapcaster Mage. And they had a Mental Misstep, right? Yeah. So that's kept in check. As I said, it doesn't really matter. I can even think about maybe equipping a Skullclamp to Phelia and trading with Snapcaster Mage. I don't really care about Phelia at this point. As I said, it's just about not letting Tivit getting back on board. I will definitely win this on the long run. So here I can cast Containment Priest, I equip the Skull Clamp, and then I flicker the wave. They're on 7 HP, so would make sense to block. But yeah, you see where this is going. Tivit does not enter, and that's pretty much it. So quick one, different angles to tackle here. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.